All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. In this one, we're just going to be talking about the software architecture that I'm using to run my software products right now. We've done over 15,000 transactions on our app, and yeah, we've begun to run into some issues. So I would love to share where we're at, what's been going on, and what we are doing to combat the issues and problems that we are facing currently right now. So I believe this will be a valuable video. This is not a tutorial by any means, but it's just, I believe, a means to expose you to what's happening as you're building softwares and products in the real world. So let's get started. So to kick off, I would switch over to my tablet so that we can get visuals and diagrams of what I'm talking about as we proceed. We have this big circle here represents the entire server. So I'm just going to break down everything that we have going on from our server all the way down to our front end and other things that go on in our product. So we have this circle which represents like our server, which is an Ubuntu server on the cloud because we use cloud providers. We don't do shared hosting for our products because we want to control every step of the flow. So we also have other things inside of that server. So I'll explain why this is problematic in a little bit. So we have two databases for two of our applications. So we do have two softwares that we run right now. So we have two Postgres databases for them. We have a backend server that is written in Django and Python. Then we also have our front end, which was a Docker container which ran Next.js and all those kind of things. Then we also had our API providers, which gave us access to things like bill payments, virtual dollar card services, account numbers for customers to pay money into our applications. So everything here, as you can see, began to become a problem as we started to activate more and more services. Our services were actually quite smaller, before we start hitting 10,000 and 15,000 transactions. Currently, as it is, we had all this going on, which was beginning to become, like I said, a problem. Our backend was taking up resources, API providers talking to our backend, also taking up resources, two databases, definitely taking up resources, a Docker container with a front end taking up resources. That does not also consider the fact that all these people here talking to our front end, talking to our applications, we're all using and utilizing resources that was now becoming a problem. So this was an issue we began to have like 3-4 months ago. So we started working on optimization, which is where we are currently at right now. I'll give you also an image of where we are right now and what we've done to sort of combat the situation and make it a little bit more manageable. Onto the new architecture, we've simplified things a little bit here. So a bunch of services have been detached. Everything that was going on was leading to a bunch of problems, things like crashes of the server, also things in relation to slower API calls and those kind of things were now becoming issues and we needed to solve them. So with this architecture we have right here, we can see that in comparison to what we had before, it's a lot more simpler. What have we done? Well, first of all, to scale up the Docker container services. So that was taking a lot of CPU resources on our stuff. We had to now start using Vercel to host our front-end applications. So we used Next.js for two of our softwares. Then we have our database on AWS, which is here. And then we also have another database which we've not fully migrated yet, but it's still existing inside of our server. So it's best we just have one that is doing that. So we still have our backend server inside of the core server, API provider still talking with our server, but the front end is out there, one database is out, and our Flutter still is hosted. So if we did not have Play Store, I guess I would have just still hosted it. We've sort of simplified things a little bit to make sure that moving and scaling as we are getting on and adding more transactions and more customers to our services. In a future video, I will talk about my products. I will talk about also the stack I'm using. Just maybe I'll give you a brief rundown of the stack so that we have an idea of what I'm using. So on the front end, I'm using Next.js and HTML, CSS, and a bit of JavaScript. And on the back end, I'm using Python and Django, and Postgres for the database, Flutter for our mobile app, and we use Ubuntu Nginx and Gunicon for server-related activities. So this is just more or less involving cutting through the whole spectrum of a full software, development cycle, from front end all the way to DevOps and those kind of things. So right now, this we've simplified things a little bit, and I believe this is where we'll be at for a little bit. But for now, the key thing we'll do is to ensure that the only thing happening on our server is just processing API requests and nothing else. So the database that we have going on inside of this server will be moved to like another cloud provider, so that we can ensure that everything is smooth. We are not dealing with any issues on processing, and everything is, at least with these improvements, we've gone back to where we are with like speed and those kind of things. So I believe with further tuning, we'll definitely get to where we need to be. So that's just more or less like an architecture of where we're at with our products. If you do enjoy the video, do like, do subscribe. I do like making this kind of stuff. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. So my goal is to drop one video every 2 weeks on this channel. Do check out like my product. Everything will be linked, will be in the description. If you're in Nigeria, you can check out our dollar card service. And thanks again for watching.